In the saddest episode of the series so far, we finally begin to understand Abby. She's the daughter of the surgeon Joel shot in cold blood, and for the past 5 years, she's been haunted, trapped in a nightmare that won't let her go. One part of her can't accept her father's death. That's the side that clings to revenge, reliving the moment over and over to keep her rage alive. But there's another part of Abby, the part that wants to grieve, the part that wants to move on. That side begs her to let go. But in the end, it loses. But why didn't Joel defend himself? Why didn't he tell Abby the truth? That the Fireflies never gave him a choice. That they lied until the last second. That they were going to cut open Ellie's brain. Without consent, without warning. He begged them to stop. They beat him and threw him out. He could have said all of it, but he didn't. Joel stayed silent, not because he was afraid, but because deep down, he had already judged himself. In his own mind, he was guilty. He wouldn't open up to a therapist, and now, Abby says every word he's tried to bury, and he just listens, nods, accepts it. That silence wasn't weakness. It was surrender. Ellie yells at Joel to get up like she's commanding him. Because in her mind, he's not allowed to die. He's the strongest person she knows. He always has a plan. He always finds a way. She thought he was unbreakable. Maybe that's why she yelled at him the night before. Maybe that's why she pushed him away. Because when you believe someone's invincible, you forget they can break. And now, she's learning the hardest lesson of all. Sometimes you don't get a second chance. And sometimes, the last thing you said is something you can never take back. Ellie arrived just in time to witness the greatest trauma of her life. She didn't see Joel die from a distance. She saw every detail, and that experience is going to define who she becomes. At 19, Abby lost her father and let that grief turn her into a weapon. Now, Ellie is standing at the same edge. She's 19 too. Her pain is raw. Her need for justice is burning. The real question is, will she follow the same path? Or will she find a way to break the cycle? Okay, maybe it's just me, but this episode felt so much like Game of Thrones. The chilling wind, the falling snow, the looming wall meant to protect people from a horror outside, only to be breached when no one expected it. I couldn't help but hear that old line echoing in the back of my mind. Winter is coming. Suddenly, early, right when we thought the story was just beginning, it hit like the death of Ned Stark. But then came the chaos. The infected flooding Jackson. Screams, fire, blood. And in the center of it all, our first close look at a bloater. The special effects were incredible. The cinematography, straight out of a big-budget blockbuster. Honestly, there were moments that gave me flashbacks to Helm's Deep from The Lord of the Rings. Remember that moment in the Two Towers? When the orcs march through the night toward the fortress, and everyone believes the wall is unbreakable? Until it isn't. Because then, a monster appears. A hulking, armored beast immune to arrows, carrying the explosive charge that shatters the wall. And suddenly, the impossible is happening. And right in the middle of all that chaos, we saw Tommy, the same man who had warned everyone, if there's ever a breach, avoid the main street. That's the most dangerous place. And then, when the wall came down and the infected poured in, he was the first one to run into that same street, the street he told everyone to stay away from. He had a family to protect, and still he chose to go toward the fire. That's who Tommy is. Joel and Tommy both protect what they love, but in very different ways. Joel will do anything to save his person. Tommy will do anything to save the people. And that choice doesn't make one more heroic than the other. It just shows us two versions of love. One that fights for one life, and one that fights for everyone else. Joel loved too deeply, and paid the price. Abby lost too much, and became the thing she hated. Ellie, she's standing at the edge, between justice and revenge, between memory and madness. This wasn't just the saddest episode yet. It was the beginning of who she becomes, and maybe the end of who she used to be. But here's the strangest part. We all love Joel. At least I do. I understood his decision in season 1, and yet I also understood Abby. I felt her pain. I felt her rage. And somehow I found myself giving her permission too. Joel killed her father. But when they first met, he saved her life. He called her kid, protected her like a dad, and she still killed him. That's the power of this writing. It doesn't tell you who's right. It makes you feel both sides. And then it leaves you sitting in the middle, unsure, uncomfortable, and completely human. Did you feel the same? Did you forgive Abby, even just for a moment? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every one of them. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next in episode 3.